What's up, everyone? I wanted to do this new format here of just kind of chatting, a little bit of an AMA type format, because a lot of people have been DMing me about pretty basic questions. After I released the course about investing in passive income, you guys have been amazing with your being receptive to that. That was awesome. A lot of really great DMs about that. The link to that is in the description below if you guys are interested in learning about investing and buying websites for passive income. So I have my laptop down here. So if you see me looking down, that's just because I'm looking at the questions that you guys have asked. And I'm in my new office here. It's not quite tricked out yet. Coming soon is an actual desk that I'll be able to sit at. Have a little bit better of a setup here for this show. But I just wanted to go through one of the main questions that I get, and the probably most common question, I will say. I mean, this series is going to be about all different questions, but the main one that I get the most of, I wanted to start off first addressing, and that was how to become rich by investing. And there's a lot of different aspects to this question, but this is definitely one that I get, and I on Instagram specifically, that's where I do most of my conversations with people. If you're asking, the link to that will be in the description. Also, if you guys want to DM me, ask me questions, that's the place to do it. I respond to like 10, 15 DMs a day, so I'm on there a lot, do a lot of business on there. So the question of how do you become rich, there's this issue that millionaires and a lot of very wealthy people have that work in regular 9 to 6, 9 to 5 jobs, whatever it may be. The average millionaire works 60 hours a week. This is a statistic shared often by Gary Vaynerchuk and a lot of these entrepreneur gurus on social media, Grant Cardone and all those guys who I love. I followed them for so long, respect them. And they talk about millionaires working extremely hard, hustling, and they're going for 60 hours a week. And the idea that people, when they say, I want to be a millionaire, and they don't quite think about the aspect of working 60-hour weeks and a lot of stress and just everything that's involved around that. So I want to talk about first the input that requires that output of $1 million, and just briefly touch on that. And then what I want to talk about is the Joneses and how that can affect you in your social circle. So the first part is to the question of how to become rich by investing. And the reason I laugh at that question is just because it's such a broad question, and I just, it's amazing how many times I get that question. But the first bit of being the entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur is, I will be not the first to tell you on social media, but it is not flashy, it is not private jets, it's not watches, it's nothing like that. It is very lonely. It is a lot of time being spent that you're doing something that not everybody knows why you're doing it, and it's more of like a calling by your inner gut saying, I need to do this, and it's you going out, doing something, trying to describe it to people desperately, and some people will never understand why you're doing it. They know if you're giving it 110%, that's good enough for them, which is usually really good friends and family when they know that if you're passionate about it, they can get behind you because they like that you're happy, and those are the types of people you want to attract. But it is a very lonesome road, and Elon Musk and a lot of those high-level guys, they say that it's like entrepreneurship and starting a business is like chewing on glass and staring into the void. And it's a super bleak message, but it is very difficult. It's extremely hard mentally, and it is very, very difficult when you have bills, you have things that you need to cover, and starting a business is not easy. So step one, not easy. And entrepreneurship is not glamorous at all. The Instagram photos are a fabrication. They're trying to attract you. When people are selling products, to teach you things, you are paying them and they are making money. So it is important to realize that they are hustling, they're making money off of selling you goods, and as I mentioned before, I am selling a course that's extremely valuable. So if it's valuable, it's important to better yourself and invest in yourself first. So what I want to say is that you do need to be aware of the fact that it's hard to start a business and get into entrepreneurship. There's a lot of people out there that are hustling that want a piece of the action. And also, it is important to know that as you're hustling and as you're making your business and it's lonely and you're going off on your own, trying to convince people that it's the best thing ever, it's going to be difficult to get to that millionaire stage. And when people think millionaire, they think, okay, cush, no problems. It's just relaxed. You can do whatever you want. It's a lavish lifestyle. But if you're working an average of 60 weeks, 70 hours, a week, you do need to know that that's drastically more than the average person working. And I'm sure you know that, but the probability of success is extremely low. The average business in the United States, 45%, I believe, break even. So that means that I believe the average entrepreneur in the United States in small business is taking home about $25,000 a year, which is, that was from Grant Cardone, and that's a pretty mind-blowingly low statistic. So when you think of your metric around becoming rich, when you think $25,000 and you think all of the grind and the 70, 80-hour weeks, that there's a disconnect there, and a lot of people give up really early on. So the first part is that it's hard. The second part is that the numbers are against you, and you need to go into it with a mindset that's very healthy. You need to know what you're getting into, and you need to definitely prepare yourself emotionally to climb and grind, to get to where you want to be. And the best thing that you can do there is surround yourself by positive people that love you and that support you no matter what you do, and really tighten up that friend circle so that you can hang out with really high quality people that back you up and really love watching you be happy, because success comes in multiple forms, and happiness is definitely at the top of the pyramid there. So the second bit that I mentioned that I'm going to talk about is the Joneses, and this is an old phrase in sales. It's called the Jones effect, and the Jones effect in sales means that if your neighbor is doing it, then the probability of you doing it is extremely high because you want to be like them or you want to be better than them. And that is just a social norm that's built into our head, that we see our neighbors doing something and we want to do it. That's just basic humans, how we interact with our social constructs. And the really bizarre piece here is that when you're working a normal 9-to-5 job, what's going to happen is if you're at a certain level, let's say you're C level at a finance corporation, and you're making $100,000 a year, and you get a raise, and you move up a level, and you make $200,000 a year, let's say. Your expenses are going to go up. You're not only because of the people that you're around at that level, that they are spending money, they're going out to dinner, they're buying fancy cars, they're buying fancy suits, and you have to do the same because you feel that Jones effect we just talked about. You want to fit in, you want to also sit at the table with all these people that are at that level, and that expense is going to go up. So every month, I like to think of it as a personal P&L. You have your costs and then you have your expenses. You have your income and then you have your expenses. So the expenses are your costs. So each month you have your income that's coming in, and then you have your expenses that are eating away at that income. So once you have, let's say, $200,000, you've gotten your raise at your amazing job at a finance corporation, let's say, and you've gotten your raise, your expenses bump up because of multiple factors, a big one being your social circle at that organization, going out to $500 dinners, you're going out to, in all these nice places, you're getting new cars, you're buying a new house, you're increasing your burn. And this is a very common thing that happens amongst people. I know dozens of people that have this happen to them. I went to school with them, and they go to places in New York City, San Francisco, and Boston. Their expenses are just through the roof because they keep climbing it up. So what you'll notice is that the income climbs up this ladder, it keeps going up, but the expenses are also going up. So as the income increases, your expenses increase. So therefore, the delta between those two is relatively the same, if not less. Because some people will go way up on their expenses as their income goes up, because they're getting a little bit more of that Jones effect that I mentioned earlier, where everyone in their social circle is sitting there saying, hey guys, we need to go out to this fancy dinner. I'm gonna rent a Maserati and you're gonna rent a Ferrari, and we're all gonna run around all night and spend $2,000 or something like that. So there's always going to be that climb, and that is a combination of the environment that you're in socially and also just geography wise. The cost of living in most places is going to be high in cities, and then outside of cities is going to be lower. That's just basic common sense there. But the reality is that a lot of very early wealthy people, they are spending their money, but they're actually earning more and spending more. So that reduces the amount of savings, that reduces the amount of investment that you can actually hold, and in turn, you are basically just losing ground on your wealth status. So to recap, everything that I've gone through so far is, if you want to establish yourself as someone that is sturdy financially, you have financial freedom, you're secure, you feel safe, and your family's taken care of, is the first thing you need to do is reduce your expenses, your costs each month. That's just first and foremost, and you need to make sure that you're able to cover those costs with multiple revenue streams or income streams. This can be done through investing in various different assets that cash flow, and I talk about that in the course that I did about investing only in websites that cash flow. And the idea is that you cover your expenses with your cash flowing assets. And this is something that the uber wealthy do because they can maintain their expenses. And most wealthy people that I know, most multimillionaires that I know, are all very frugal. They stick to a budget. They stick to going to the same inexpensive places that they always go to. And people really enjoy the fact that when they are frugal, they have more money to invest and they have more freedom by having cash flow covering their expenses. So the moral of this whole AMA is, the question was, how do you get rich by investing? And the answer is, there's multiple parts to it. And the first part being, entrepreneurship is very lonely, and starting a business is very hard and difficult. Odds are against you. But if you have the right mindset, you can run for it and go for it. Second step was that your social circle and the social construct around you, your environment, is actually working against you in many situations, where even if your income increases, your expenses increase, and the difference there is always going to be shrinking. So minimize the amount of expenses that you have, cut your costs, cut your burn down, and as the income increases from your assets, your cash flowing assets, your businesses, whatever they may be, you are able to stack cash and invest in more. So the final bonus piece that I'm going to talk about here for everybody that's stuck around is that, yes, I can see you. Thanks for commenting in the chat there, FaZe Bear. So the last bonus piece that I wanted to mention is that when you're investing in cash flowing assets, there's certain time frames you can set up. So every quarter, I know certain people will do quarterly reinvesting into new assets. People will do it twice a year, once a year, 3 times a year. It's really up to you and how much cash flow you have. But when you have a certain amount of cash flow coming in, let's say $50,000 every quarter, it makes sense to put that money, if you're not using, if you're cutting your costs and you're not using much of it, which you should be doing, you should reinvest that and then add to your cash flow. So you can actually get that flywheel going, and you can reinvest in multiple assets, and it really builds up over time. So the moral of the story is, cut your costs, tighten up your friend circle and your social circle so that you can really just focus on building cash flow, offset your expenses, so that when you reinvest every quarter, when you have all of these new cash flowing assets, whether they're websites, whether they're real estate, whether it's all the different aspects, whether you own an affiliate marketing business, an e-commerce business, a Facebook ad agency, something like that, whatever it may be that you have that's cash flowing, that you have people managing or you manage yourself, adding to those and reinvesting in your businesses. I can guarantee everybody that watches this video is that if you reinvest in your businesses, they will do better and you will gain more revenue. That is just a guarantee that I can offer you now. Even if you don't invest in the correct aspects of the business, you will learn that it is the incorrect asset of the business that you invested in, and you need to figure out what the right one is. So reinvest into the businesses that are working, keep them running. And another bonus piece is that if you maintain a business for 16 months and it's not working out, for example, Tai Lopez, the guru on YouTube, that always talks about knowledge, and he sits in front of his Ferrari, that is that guy. He said 16 months is when you need to cut off a business if it's not working. I fundamentally agree with that. I think that he is on to something when he talks about that, because at the 16-month mark or even the 12-month mark, if you are invested in a business or you have vested interest in a business, if you're advising them, if you're mentoring them, if you're an employee there, if you're working there, it's not working out and you're not gaining a lot of momentum and a lot of cash flow and velocity of money, then you should definitely cut ties, move on to the next one. There's not enough time in your lifespan to focus on one effort. And if you look at the majority of wealthy people, they all have multiple streams of income. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. And the idea is that you build up these streams and they offset your expenses. And when you cut your expenses down and live a little bit below your means, then you can reinvest to the point where you're making so much cash flow that spending a little bit more money over time isn't going to directly affect the amount that you can reinvest. And when you get to that stage, you are financially free. So that is all of the different aspects of the first AMA on here, which is the question of how do you get rich by investing? And that is the brief overview. So I hope that you guys like this first format. I'm gonna try and mix things up a little bit because a lot of questions are coming in over DM on Instagram. And if you guys wanna check that out, Super Dave in the chat, hi, good to see you. And I will see you guys on the next episode here of this series. It's gonna be cool. I'm spinning out a podcast also. Also, if you guys want to check out the course on investing, it is in the link in the description below. So I will see you guys on the next one of these streams.